Gaurav, I'm super happy to have you. You are the CEO of SnapLogic, a data integration company. And we are here and because you plan to open an office in Paris, in France.
Indeed. Stefan, thank you for having me. A pleasure to be on Data Sommelier with you. And yes, we are expanding into Southern Europe and opening up an office in Paris on the Champs Elysees. And I'm very pleased with it. And the team said, "Hey, come, let's have an office opening." I'm like, "I'll be there." The
Excellent.
song is Paris in April, but the good time to be there is May. As you know, it rains a lot in April.
So it's a nice place, it's a nice company, and it's a nice product. I was lucky last year to play with SnapLogic, evaluating the solutions, and I've enjoyed a lot. And we are here to share the story of SnapLogic, the past, the present, but of course the future as well.
I look forward to it. There's a lot to condense into a short period of time, so let's have at it.
Yes.
Gosh. So look, where to begin? I've been very graced that I was able, with a brilliant co-founder, to start Informatica, and then as chief executive over the next about 12 years, build it into a phenomenal company in the world of data marts initially, then ETL and data warehousing and so on in my time, and then take some time off. This is a picture, a trip down memory lane. This is the first Informatica building ever. It's on 1200 Chrysler Drive, and it was the first building we leased. I didn't have a fancy car, I still don't, but I borrowed my co-founder's fancy car. He had a BMW. He said, "Where are you going?" It's like, "Who is she?" or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm just going to lease a building. I don't want those people to think we don't have any money. So we leased that building, and here am I standing in front of it. And it was an excellent run. Some wonderful things were going on in the industry at the time. And I feel very graced to be there as the need for data went from mainframes to client server computing in the Informatica times.
Yeah. So it was in 1992, something like that, right?
This is 1995. We just got our first
1995.
round of financing, and you need financing to lease a building, and so this is the opening. I think we were having our first board meeting or whatever, and somebody took a picture of me outside the building.
Okay, so everything started at this time, and you have invented data integration.
I would say I had a hand in the industry. The backstory is when we were doing the Informatica IPO, as a young CEO, as understandably, I was very nervous about it. And a couple of years ahead of us, TIPCO had gone public, and I was taking Informatica public at the time. And we were thinking how to position Informatica. And we said, why not? There's application integration, and people understand that. That is a number of companies very successful. And we will position ourselves truly as data integration. So I'm not sure I would say I invented it, but I had a hand in creating the term along with my marketing team and my banking team. So we did it. My team and we did it. I wouldn't say I did it.
Yeah, I remember this time because I was on the other side of the business. I was working for Essential Software at that
That's
time,
right.
and we were competing.
Indeed. Pete and Peter.
Exact, exact. It was, but that's why I said that you invented everything because both company invented everything. All
Indeed.
the data integration concepts, the no code, low code concept, everything
No,
started at that
it
time.
was a wonderful time, Stefan. So whichever side we were on, and this is what I find interesting when you look back in time, to use a word from France, sort of impressionism. It's an era in the time of paintings. So even though some impressionist painters were friends, some were competitors, some were bitter enemies, the truth is the world sees them all as impressionists,
Yeah.
So yes, we came up with the term, and knock on wood, it was a wonderful idea. It described aptly what we did. Other companies, because it's natural. You don't have a real market without competitors. But
Yes.
yes, we are all data integrators and part of that era.
Yeah, exact. And after 10 or 12 years, yeah, I don't remember exactly, you decided to start a new company.
That's right. That. So look, I took some time off and thought about what to do next. And the thinking was, most people wanted, and most people thought that I should go become a venture capitalist. But Stefan, I like to build companies. It makes me happy, you
Okay.
know. And so I was helping other people, making investments. And in one board meeting, somebody brought something up, and I was like, boy, this web idea is very, very strong. SaaS is very different. The nature of distribution of data is very different. Cloud is going to happen in a big way. So someone should create a new product and a new company to provide those things. And then in 24 hours, I was like, maybe this is something I should find some people and encourage them to come up with a business plan and do some prototyping. So yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, so it was around 2012,
I
so
forget. We started prototyping earlier than that, but it was really more of a scientific discovery phase.
okay.
I would say we've been at about 2012, 13 is when I joined, maybe 11 as CEO when we had the prototype. Because as the name SnapLogic implies, it's really about snapping things together. I can't say the trade name. We all know the children's toy, that you can snap together.
Yes.
But the idea was, how do you do that? Now we knew it could be done for web to web, but I felt the real hard problem, and therefore the solution that we have to provide, was around connecting hybrid, a combination of on-premise and cloud. And if we could do that, like SAP and Salesforce and so on, we could really do well. So that's, once we had the prototyping done, I jumped into that as an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the time it was the beginning of the cloud. It was
Yes.
early stage. It's
Very
not.
early.
Yeah.
Very early. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Uh,
it was a foundation for you to think about how do you improve the process to create pipelines.
Yes, many things, Stefan. So I think I'm going to use a slide to sort of describe both at some point later we'll talk about this as well. But let me go to sorry, slide. Yeah. So the driving principles behind sort of SnapLogic were, it's very clear that there's going to be the rise of unstructured data. And if you think about that, I tried to have some images to make the point. To me, this photograph taken by an astronaut from the lunar module of Earthrise, it was taken on film. It's in the early 60s, and it's a beautiful photograph, because it shows us something that we all share. And in my view, the rows and columns of data are like Earth. And if you think of all the unstructured data, this video, audio, technical support calls, customer success people listening to their customers, somebody calling in to order something, the unstructured data is a galaxy.
Mhm.
And one of the founding principles behind SnapLogic was that even though we did a really good job of managing relational data and manipulating relational data, rows and columns was a limiting concept. And with the rise of the cloud, and then if you think about computing and being able to convert analog into digital with faster and faster processors, better and better network bandwidth, it was very clear that we could do this video call that you and I are doing without having to buy $500,000 of complicated telecommunications equipment.
Yeah,
That,
sure.
so if that is true of this application, it's also true of enterprise data. So to me, that was one of the driving factors behind SnapLogic. The others were the topology. The network topology is very different. You're not going to be able to go across and connect something. It has to be somewhere else. So the management of it, the security of it, the beautiful idea of scale. We know the web scales because billions of people use it, 6 billion people in multiple languages. So using that as an architecture principle from day one, this whole debate of MPP, SMB that we had in the last century, it feels so antique now because it's all scale up, but you have to rebuild the products from scratch to do that.
Okay.
And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, as you saw from your usage of the technology, we felt that you should have one platform that does data integration and application integration in a real-time stream. And if you do that, then you can have the advantage of having standardized usages of data, not only for analytics, but also for applications, not only for guidance of your company, not only for sort of the navigation, but also for propulsion, for moving it forward, for making things happen.
Yes. So you kept the concept of low code with the
Yes,
snap, uh,
precisely, precisely.
assembling components together.
Yeah.
And did you get some objections from the market about no code versus code? Because we have a big trend
Yes.
here in France. People or data engineers are using Python or language, and some others are like no code approach. So it's still two different worlds.
Yes. Look, we one thing Peter and I agreed on is that the main competition for Essential and Informatica was hand coding. It was true then,
Exactly.
it's true today, and it'll always be the case because
Exactly.
the reason we can build these amazing things is also why people can do things. So the way I look at it is, and with this new trend of co-pilots and AI and vibe coding,
Exactly.
I think people coding integrations is like an even worse idea today than it was coding them 20 years ago, right? Because what you really think about it is in your mind, you have an intention. At very, very simple, very trivial level, you want to look for sales of, this is a data sommelier post, sales of wine over time by region. Very simple. Your
Yes.
basic cue. You have that intention. If you could speak that intention to a system and it produced that cube of data, you're done,
Exact.
right?
Exact.
So
Yes.
anything else, even a UX, I would say, is creates impedance, it creates friction. And then if you think about coding, you think about the effort not of writing it, but maintaining it.
Yes.
Because nothing is static. Computing errors like errors of painting and music come and go, so nothing is static. And when you think about that, it becomes very clear that, again, I'm not here to say never write code. Obviously we write code, but you have to think about build, configure, and buy. In
Yes.
some cases, you have to build it. It's so specialized, it's unique. If you're NASA, NASA's going to write code, right?
Sure.
To get
Sure.
data from the lunar module or the Mars Venus mission or whatever. If you're going to write code to put humans on Mars. But if you're using the same things everyone else is using, SAP, Salesforce, Snowflake, then why would you be writing code? You should be able to express yourself in a
Yeah.
system that has a lot of electromechanical, sort of hydraulics, the equivalent of software amplification that lets you carry that out. And
Yeah.
the system has to be well designed and stand up to your needs. But if it does, you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. This is maybe what we call English engineering. Just talking to machine.
Yes, 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 yes. So I'm never going to say coding is bad. I started writing code when I was 13 to do video games and so on, and so it's a hobby. I don't not any good anymore, and certainly better languages, more expressive languages have come up like Python. But you have to kind of choose it carefully because I think these religious debates oftentimes are stirred up by vendors for self gain,
Yeah.
and there's you can't say, oh, coding is bad or coding is good. You should say, look, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and what is the skill set of the people solving it? So for
Exactly.
example, if you believe in self-service, then coding is obviously a bad idea. Do you want every business person in your company to learn Python? That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. And now with AI, should even engineers learn Python?
Yeah, exact, exact.
you
Yes,
know
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
we have observed another trend that was called and still called the modern data stack,
Correct.
assembling different
Correct.
components from different vendors to create a stack that works. And
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes it does not work because you have to integrate the integration, and this can be a big pain sometimes.
Yes,
And,
yes, yes. I think I have a slide that talks a little bit about the history of data in its generations here, the eras. So look, as data scaled up, the traditional, sort of Inman versus, I have to shout out to Bill Inman and Ralph Kimball. I mean, if you say anybody invented the data warehouse industry, these two gentlemen should get a big hand, whatever method, and the arguments are still happening somewhere over drinks at some conference. But the evolution from sort of an RDBMS into first Hadoop because of scale, people wanted to use scale out and they had trouble getting RDBMSs to do that early on. And then the evolution, natural evolution of some very capable technologies like Snowflake, and then later on Databricks or Spark SQL, Apache Spark came along, and they industrialized it, and they've done a very good job, have come along. The issue, I think, with a lot of these things is, again, this gets religious, which it doesn't need to be, right? So when you think about the modern data stack, it gets very, very prescriptive in only one way of doing things, which I have trouble with.
Mm.
And there were many counts pointer points. So what is good about the modern data stack is that you can get better control and you have less of a risk of having inconsistency in your data. The problem is you have to go back to a centralized place every time, and you have to use like 5 or 7 tools. You have ingest product like a Fivetran, you have a transformation product like a DBT, which is also coding. You have to worry about version control and understand how GitHub works and stuff like that. And then if you want to get a data out, you have to use reverse ETL.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I was like, these are artificially made up categories, right? And so in my view, if what you really want to do is you want to say to yourself, can all enterprise data be centralized? And to me, the answer is no.
Hmm.
The data is distributed. We
Yes.
live in a distributed world. So if you buy into the fact that data cannot be one place, one temple of data with high priests of data, whatever they speak. In the old days, when we were fighting mainframes, it was the maybe Latin was the language, and the high priest said one thing. And now maybe the language is Spark, and the high priests are Brahmins. But the concept that you have to go into a data temple to get something rather than self-service doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I
And
think I think that's the problem. I mean, it's a good idea in some cases and bad idea in other cases, and then each technology has its own variations in it.
yeah, exactly. And you have mentioned mainframe, but I don't think that modern data stack is very comfortable integrating legacy, right? It's works well with
Yeah,
cloud databases and
yeah,
new application, but
yeah.
not so well with
Not so well.
mainframe.
Well, and maybe there is something that lets them access that. I don't know, but I don't want to be religious and say it's a bad idea. What I want to say to someone is, if you are going to be dogmatic and argue that everything has to be ELT, it must go in and then you must go access it. My question to them is, how are you going to provide self-service, my good friend?
Hmm.
Right? So what you're saying is someone has to learn to speak now Sanskrit. And basically, you've done away with all the decades of effort that were put into democratizing data by a variety of companies.
Yes.
My old company, your old company, in France, Bernard Liautaud and Denis with business objects. And so we're basically saying all those things don't make any sense. And I don't buy that. I think what is needed is a way to be able to have distributed access and a federated model where you can use the data on a self-service basis. And we do that for hundreds of enterprises across the globe. But at
Yeah.
the same time, you have governance and security. It's not like, oh, you can be distributed and secure. For example, the World Wide Web. What if you and I had to make an appointment this morning to get the meeting to then have our video conference? How many videos would you do?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So I think self-service is really the issue. And there's been a lot of debate about, is the modern data stack dead? Is it alive? Sometimes I wonder, it's like clickbait, that be just getting people to click on it. The
yeah.
truth is, it was never perfect and it's never dead. It has certain applications, but with AI is really, really putting it back on its heels.
Yes.
Because where does the AI data live? Is it
Exactly.
on the web? Is it in the LLM? Is it in your whatever lake? A, B, C, D, E flavor of the lake. So I think AI is really going to, puncture the balloon of this massive centralization kind of data temple idea.
Yeah, and if we observe the Gartner Magic Quadrant, you did a great job moving from unknown to almost top right. Not yet top right, but in a good position.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. So look, we're very pleased with that. And huge shout out to our friends at Gartner for recognizing that, because we're also in a very good position on other quadrants at Gartner because we have a unified platform. And what Gartner likes is the level of expressiveness that we bring into solving this problem using AI,
Okay, and
right?
the next step is you have mentioned the AI era and the agentic era. So,
Indeed,
are
indeed.
you
For
ready for that? This is a big noise, a
This
big
is
step.
this is now. Remember, we have to make sure we don't confuse PowerPoints with products. As you know, everybody changes their website. So look, to me, the future is agentic. There's no question, Stefan. And the way I see it is what used to be applications are going to be a combination of applications and agents with many, many more agents. And if you do it right, an agent truly is an assistant, like a Batman and Robin idea. But it's not one Robin. You have many, many Robins, and you can control them and do things with them in a way that is just amazing. You know, there are very trivial examples that our customers are using. For example, query. Do you know? Look, Microsoft just did a 3% layoff. A lot of the people who were laid off were engineers and program managers and product managers.
Yes.
What they're betting on is that you can use AI to build software in a way that you couldn't in the past. And I think
Mhm.
the same thing is going to be true in the world of data, where maybe data engineering is going to be Socratic, like Socrates. You don't have to learn SQL as much as you have to learn the right questions,
Yeah.
right? You know the questions, the system provides the answers to you. But nevertheless, the world we see is an agentic world where you have these things that can do the work for you, and they can do it in a perpetual manner, in an interconnected manner.
Yes.
And more importantly, Stefan, this is the distributed argument that is going to really cause people to re-examine their investment in the modern data stack, much as they re-examine their investments in Hadoop when some of the new cloud things came up. There are going to be millions of agents. SnapLogic's customers alone make 8 million integrations a year.
Well,
Sophisticated integrations, okay, not just point to point, because point to point, people will just write code or buy some work group product. You wouldn't buy SnapLogic for that. You buy SnapLogic for a multi point integration. And I can see my customers having more than 1 million agents in our company using our products. 10% of these integrations easily will become agentic by the time we have a next user conference. I predicted that at the last user conference, and I'm doing it on the show. But that's just SnapLogic. What about all the agent building from Crew.ai, from Salesforce, from Glean, from all the new companies that are coming up in Europe, in all over the world? So we see a world where there are millions of agents, and in the enterprise, for these agents to truly have value, they need to be connected.
yes. Yes. I
And we see,
remember.
yeah,
Yeah, I,
sorry.
I remember you were ready already last year, or maybe 18 months. With AI components, it was possible to develop agents or AI workflow very easily. So,
Yes.
18 months later, where are you with the roadmap?
Yeah. So where we are is it has become incredibly powerful and much better connected. So we built specifically over 75 specifically for agent creator snaps to systems, right? There's so many good LLMs in the world. We want to make sure you can connect to them. There are so many new things coming along, like 11 Labs for voice, like
Oh yes,
Glean for search. So we've been building specific new connectivity into these new generative transformational types of systems. Okay.
yeah,
So
amazing
that is
time.
one dimension. The other dimension is we realize that our customers are using us in combination with enterprise data and some prompts. So we created a whole new product called Prompt Composer to help our customers get the right transformation first time. So if you
Excellent.
think about it, in the old days, mid 90s, sort of Informatica, Essential era, the best transformation you could do was sort, aggregate, join.
Yeah.
Ask your good friend, the database, to do those things. And, I'm almost embarrassed to tell my engineers that that's all we had, because look what you can do now. You can give a prompt along with data sets securely using the private keys for the enterprise to an LLM to do things,
Yes.
and then
And
you can distribute that. So
yes.
in that world, getting the prompt right is vital importance, and the transformational power, and the ability to do simple natural language text is insanely good. For example, they were showing me the new product, and I was like, okay, well, ask it to show me sales in the Northeast. And it knew that I was in the US from my IP address. So it automatically figured out when I said the Northeast what that means. It was a
Yes.
union of Massachusetts, New York, Vermont, etc., etc., etc. It figured it out on its own. So it's not just text to code; it's colloquial text,
Yes, it's about
idiomatic. Yes,
it's about the semantic layer, and it's
that's right.
not easy to understand the
Yeah.
concept behind that. Or it's hard to implement it. Very hard.
Yes. It's very hard, but our good friend, the LLM, is here, right? So if we think of sort of the old world of ETL, the new world of ELT, and then the future, where the T, the transformation, is a large language model. It could be Mistral, it could be DeepSeek R1 that you get from China, it could be OpenAI, it could be Anthropic, Google. So it doesn't really matter, but these transformations are so powerful that using them, that whole debate about, oh, language A, language B becomes sort of out of date, seems anachronistic, seems antique. And the whole debate about this data stack versus that data stack makes less and less sense, because really it's not going to be a centralized place. Yeah, you have, for convenience, you have some LLM models. And I like what Snowflake has done. They provide convenience and a single point of control. Databricks gives you a much more fine-grained control, but it's very complicated very quickly. Pretty soon you're writing Spark SQL and so on. And so, but is that even the right question? Do you know Spark SQL? Is that the right question? Do you know how to do CI/CD? Is that the right question? Or do you just really want to know how the wine is selling in the regions over time?
Yeah. So you are ready for the next step,
We
and
are.
um, and
Yeah.
maybe next year we will see SnapLogic in a higher position in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, right? Maybe.
Challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. We have the technology. We need to get the word out, and that's one of the reasons I will be in Paris, where we will miss you, and we just want more and more people to be able to see it and use it. We're very graced to have some amazing customers in France, like Schneider Electric, Orange, etc. And we're looking to add a number more into the roster, and it's a combination. Some are app integration customers, some are data integration, but having that platform gives them both. So you have
Yes.
that definition in your application, and you don't have to worry about too much the sprawl of multiple tools.
Yeah, and you will be in Paris the 3rd of
I
June
will be. I will
to,
be on the
to
3rd of
welcome the French community.
June. That's right. So we have a full team in France now. Excuse me. And we're one second. And we're opening up an office on the 3rd of June officially. There is going to be a reception, and everyone's invited. There you go. Everyone's invited to the reception.
Excellent. So yeah, I will not be there, unfortunately, but next time, for sure, I will meet in person with
In,
you. Yeah,
indeed. Well, look forward to it. Look forward
yeah.
to
Thank
it.
thank you, Gaurav, for this conversation. And I'm watching you. I continue to watch you, your technology and your team, and it will be a pleasure to meet you
Well,
one day.
thank you, Stefan. You're very knowledgeable, and praise from someone who's been in the industry a while is praise indeed. So we accept that, and we work hard to honor the faith and the respect we get. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and talk to you soon, Gaurav.
See you soon.